What's your name?
Catherine Goebel.
Are you a spy, Catherine?
Am I what?
I said, are you a Russian spy?
No, sir. I'm not Russian.
Okay.
She's not.
Well, Grandma, what did you think of Hidden Figures, which is, once again, the true story of three young African American ladies who, early in the space program, back in the Mercury days, and even before uh, America got anybody into orbit, were given the task of basically being human computers.
They were even referred to as
They
computers.
were, yes.
Because they computed.
Developing all of the math needed to launch the astronauts into space.
And bring them back safely.
Yes, and as we found out, were very essential to all of that happening.
Yes.
And so again, it follows them along through their struggles because, again, not only were they given a very difficult task, all of the people involved in that, but again, they were in just the early days of the civil rights movement in the 60s, and
definitely treated as second-class citizens.
And they were having to deal with all of that.
All of that.
So what did you think, Grandma?
It was wonderful. This is definitely a movie worth seeing. Those of us who lived during this time, it's kind of painful to go back to the kinds of situations that these women faced in their daily lives. I thought the film and the directors were very, very wise in showing what their personal lives were like, as well as their professional lives, how the black families lived and enjoyed each other's company and loved their children and their spouses. I thought that was a very good choice. Not just their professional lives, where they were, as you pointed out, extremely important to the success, essential to the one particularly.
Well, I mean, all three of them in their own way, but
Right.
again, we were shown on several occasions how pivotal their role
Yes.
was in getting everything to work.
And also those of us who lived through the extreme segregation, the colored-only water fountains and the colored-only bathrooms and all of that mess. It's kind of painful to go back to that. They could have downplayed that. But if you live like that, it's very important. In fact, one of the mothers said, this is the way it is. You do this and you get along. If you don't, as you pointed out, the civil rights movement was getting underway very, very well in 1961, which is where we start our journey. And some of the family members of our ladies, the hidden figures in our story, were involved in the movement and very passionate about making progress. It was so well done. The actors were especially good, and the director who was making the decisions on how to do this, some of the scenes, I'm pretty sure, now you can correct me, but some of the scenes of the actual rockets going off and the landing and the view from space, some of those things were real, weren't they? Don't you think? I was just wonderful. It was just wonderful. It was so well done. What did you think? What did you think of it? You were just a baby at the time,
Well,
you know.
I thought it was also quite well done. Again, this is one of these cases where um, at least some of the people
Yes,
involved are still alive today to give us
their input.
the facts behind the
Right.
story and really, again, how much of it is, exactly from that, we don't know, but you would think they certainly had the opportunity to make it as real as it was.
And check it out with the real
Yes,
people. That's right.
and some of the characters and the situations and such, so that the particular scenes and such, again, we could only assume that many of them were true to life. Again, the actors were all very good. And again, it's one of these things where uh, it's really an untold story, as the title suggests. Hidden figures. It's an interesting untold story that you're fascinated to find out about.
How important these people were
Yes,
and
yes.
how different they were.
Well, again, the sort of a parallel story to their story is really this whole sort of story of the behind the scenes uh, scientists and stuff to NASA. I mean, we've had movies about the astronauts and the space race and all this sort of stuff, but all of these number crunchers behind the scenes trying to calculate trajectories and things like that. Again,
And now it was a whole
yeah,
unknown science. I mean,
yeah. I
it
mean,
was just
just
really,
just that whole thing is a
yes,
whole story all in itself, and then to have this whole another aspect to it with again them being African American and again having to deal with all of that. On top of what these it's almost all white men in every room they're in. They have to deal with this, and while again they're still having to deal with the science involved, which again is difficult enough as it is. It's, I think, quite entertaining. In addition to the the interest you would show in the story, which was again very interesting. So I would recommend it. What would you say, Grandma?
definitely. This is a wonderful film. It is part of history, part of the history of our country.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the events are in history. All of the space push that President Kennedy started and was so positive about got us really into the space race. It was a little. I had to smile about the competition with the Russians because I remember that so clearly. I mean, we as a nation, we couldn't let the Russians do this first. What do you mean? They're in space. What?
So, Grandma,
Sputnik? What?
Grandma, would you
Yes.
recommend?
Oh, yes, I recommend it. It's wonderful. It is wonderful. It took me back to an era that I lived through, and they did a very good job
They did.
of recreating that world.
Okay.
2 thumbs up. Go see it. It's wonderful. Those hidden figures are special ladies. You need to know about them.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yes.
Okay.